thinking, is this Mother's Day? Mother's Day was last weekend, but that's all right. We can still talk about mothers, amen? There's something to be said about the wisdom of a mother. When I say mother, I'm talking about a real mother. I'm not talking about a human incubator. A real mother is able to speak over her children in such a way that her words can strike a nerve in a child that motivates them to great heights. You see, it's something about the wisdom of a mother. You see, mama knows that her black cast iron skillet can bring her children together in such a way that even if they are feuding, they can call a ceasefire over a meal and hopefully mend those broken bridges. I'm talking about the wisdom of a mother this morning. You see, mama has the ability that sometimes fathers don't have. Mama has the ability to believe in her prodigal child to the point that the child will feel ashamed for living any other way than how she has raised them. I can remember at some time ago, my mother told me something prior to her passing away. And what she told me, it stuck with me even to this day. I was going through a tumultuous situation, and she told me, she said, boy, she doesn't say, mamas don't call you by your name, they call you whatever. If they got enough kids, you get the names mixed up. But she said, boy, it's not about who you love, it's about who loves you. I'm like, huh? I don't want to hear that. Fix the situation. But that's what she gave me. That's what she gave me. But so in other words, what I didn't understand, what she was telling me was, I was wasting my time chasing who I wanted while neglecting the people who wanted me. Everyone in here this morning, I'm pretty sure that each of us can look throughout our life and recall something that your mother has told you. And at the time that you heard what she said, at the time you heard it, but it did not register or you did not understand it. But now, looking back at those words now, after having children, after experiencing some life lessons, you see how profound and prolific her words were. I want to speak to you this morning about the little nuggets from Mama. The little nuggets from Mama. My brothers and sisters, if you were here last week, we had the honor to look at a woman by the name of... You're fired. Dun, 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 drum roll. Jochebed. All right? Moses' mother. Jochebed was pregnant, right? She was with a baby, but she didn't know whether she was going to have a boy or a girl. And because of the Pharaoh's or the king's decree, which stated that all male babies born would be put to death, drowned in the Nile River, but all female babies that were born would be allowed to live. So inside of these circumstances, here is this woman, Jochebed, who is pregnant. She has no instruments to rub on her stomach, with that cold gel in order to get a picture of the baby that is inside of her. This mother couldn't tell what sex the baby would be. Can you imagine? Can you imagine carrying a baby for 9 entire months, going back and forth with a couple of thoughts? And those thoughts are, what if it's a girl? What if I'm having a girl? I got to make room for her. But what if it's a baby boy? I got to plan a funeral. What am I having? Is it a boy or is it a girl? If it's a girl, then we can have a party. We can fix the room up. If it's a boy, then we got to call the extended families because we're going to have a funeral. Going back and forth for 9 entire months. What if this? What if that? If this takes place, if that takes place, can you imagine vacillating between two important decisions? But let's look at verse 2 this morning. In verse 2, the author says, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid for 3 months. We are then informed that Jochebed had a baby, and it was a boy. My brothers and sisters, what I want us to notice about Jochebed on this Sunday morning is this mother had made her mind up. This mother, Jochebed, she said, come hell or high water, if the Lord allows me to have this baby, whether it's a boy or a girl, it shall live. Giving her son over to death was not an option for this mother. This woman, Jochebed, she was of the mindset that said, in spite of what Pharaoh says, my child shall live. In spite of what others may think, my child shall live. In spite of what the statistics say, my child shall live. Because Jochebed had her mind made up. In this time of us fasting, Jochebed, I believe, is showing us that we need to have our minds made up. Look at your neighbor and ask him, is your mind made up?
Is your mind made up?
Is your mind made up? If the Lord delivers you from a bad habit, make your mind up to walk in victory. Don't wait until the temptation comes to decide if you are going to get the victory. For some of us, you haven't been as successful as you wanted to be with the fast. That's because you didn't have your mind made up. You can't go into a fast and thinking about all the what ifs. What if my stomach starts hurting? What if they bring over my favorite dessert? What if I got to take medications? Your mind has to be made up before your stomach starts growling. You see, the prophet Daniel had his mind made up when the king wanted them to bow down to his image, or if they didn't bow down to his image, the punishment was they would be thrown into a fiery furnace. Listen to what Daniel had told the king. He said, if we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Daniel had his mind made up.
Yes.
You can't go into a marriage thinking, what if? Gotta have your mind made up. Gotta have it made up. You gotta have your mind made up before you walk down the aisle, baby. You gotta be of the mindset, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. You can't go into there, well, what if he does this and I'll divorce him? What if she does this and I'll scram? You gotta have a mindset similar to Joshua, who said, he said this to his people. He said, if serving God seems undesirable to you, then choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my family, we're going to serve the Lord. Get your mind made up. There is something else that I believe that Jochebed can teach us, or that we can learn through her life on this Sunday morning, that sometimes you got to be willing to risk it all. Got to be willing to risk it all sometime. Got to be willing to take a risk instead of playing it safe, Rosie. You see, the mindset of folks who play it safe is, if you were Jochebed and the king said, if you have a boy, you got to give it over for death, and if you have a girl, you get to keep it. Some people's mindset might be, I know that God gave me this child, but the law states I must give my baby boy over to the authorities so that they can kill him. Or you could have been of the mindset, we can always try to have another child. Maybe Pharaoh will change his mind. Maybe we should pray for Pharaoh that he would have a change in heart. You see. Or you could be of the mindset, if you're playing it safe, all the other Hebrew mothers are following the law. Who am I? They've lost their sons. You see, it would be normal for Jochebed to follow the law. It would have been safe for her and her family just to let baby Moses go. But Jochebed, being a woman of faith, believing in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, knew that Moses was well-pleasing to the Lord. She knew that God's favor was on the child. And by faith, it was evident to her that God had a special purpose for this baby. In verse 3, Exodus, it says, "Then, when she could no longer hide him, she made a little boat from papyrus reeds, waterproofed it with tar, put the baby in it, and laid it among the reeds along the river's edge." So Jochebed decided to hide baby Moses and defy the law that was issued by Pharaoh. This mother managed to save her son from Pharaoh by hiding him. Kind of neat, don't you think? Maybe she hid him in a donkey stable. Or maybe sometimes she hid him in her storage room. But wherever she hid him, it was what she believed that led her to hide Moses. Her faith in God's purpose for Moses was greater than the risk of losing it all. My brothers and sisters, what am I trying to tell you? At times, your faith in God will require you to risk it all. Your faith, at times, will go against your will to play it safe. Your faith, at times, will collide with your desire to feel secure. Your faith in God at times will clash with your reputation. Your faith in God at times will rub against your desire for financial security. You might have to risk relationships. You might have to quit a job before you get another one. Some of you ain't looking at me too nice now. What are you talking about? Yeah. Some of you are sitting there this morning mentally shaking your head. That ain't God. God wouldn't ask me to do that. God loves me. He wouldn't put me through none of that. My God is a God of patience and understanding. My God is a God of love. My God is a God who blesses me abundantly. And you know what? I can understand why you would think that. Because there is a lot of watered down gospels being preached. You see, a lot of gummy bear Christians. You give them all the junk food and they're happy. Just like little kids. You know, the kids, they hate the vegetables, but as long as you give them all the junk food, they're happy. They're happy. You see, there are a lot of watered down gospels being preached. There are sermons that you can go and find on how God can make your life better. There are sermons and books that you can find on how we can use God to get what we want. Did you know that there are sermons and books that you can get on how God can make you rich? Did you know that there are even books out on how God can fix your marriage? But the thing that I'm really struggling with all of this fake Christianity is, if we're the ones ordering God around, then God is not our God, we are God's God. They even got books with formulas on how to be powerful. They got prayers that you memorize in order to get a blessing from the Lord. But the unique thing about when you want to line this stuff up to find out if it's biblical or not, all you have to do is run your fingers through the Bible, and you will see where people with faith had to risk it all. And when I say all, I mean all. Even their life. What do I mean? The great apostle Paul, for his faith, was beheaded. Peter, the preacher, was crucified up the gospel. James was stoned and clubbed to death. Simon the Zealot was killed for Jesus, and Stephen was stoned to death. Does that add up with your gummy bear Christianity? So do we change? Maybe we should change the Bible to fit your Christianity. But this is what the great physician Luke said in Luke chapter 9, verse 23. Jesus said to all of them, if people, somebody say he's talking about me.
He's talking about me.
If people want to follow me, they must give up the things they want. They must be willing to give up their lives daily to follow me. Question. Are you willing to risk it all? Are you willing to risk it all? Moses' mother was successful with hiding this baby for 3 months. Mothers, y'all got to work with me for a minute, because fathers might not understand this to the degree that y'all do. Only a mother can understand the fact that to hide a newborn for a period of 90 days, God had to be with her. You know, babies, the last time I checked, don't babies cry at unexpected times? They actually wake you up from your REM sleep, right? From that deep sleep, don't they? I mean, don't they cry still to be fed? Don't they cry still when they get hungry? Do they cry still when they want attention? Do they cry still when they want to play? Couple that with the fact that the Egyptian soldiers were living in the same community that the Israelites were living in, roaming through their community. The Lord had to be with this mother. But how many of us know that with every successful goal comes a new challenge? Some people say it another way. With new levels brings new devils. When you're ready to hit another notch, there is an entity, a presence of an entity that's waiting to challenge you at that very position. Just because you were successful yesterday don't mean that you will have the victory tomorrow. The Bible says this, then when she could no longer hide him, she was successful for 90 days. She could have continued hiding him. It worked, right? But here's the deal. Sometimes things are appointed for a season. And sometimes we get stuck in a rut of doing the same thing over and over. Just because it worked yesterday, we try to do the same thing again and again. For example, in the 60s, they had the march with Martin Luther King. At that time, that was the vehicle that God anointed to bring in change. But instead of religious leaders praying for a new strategy that comes from God, it would be much easier that every time a black person get killed, let's go back and march. Why should we march? Because it was successful in the 60s. Now we'll do it again. Something happened to change the game plan of this mother. That something was a someone, and that someone was the baby. You see, baby Moses began to change on Jochebed. He went from a crying infant to a more vocal, mobile toddler. Every parent in this room knows that while a baby is in the infant stage, they might cry, they might even scream, but they're still able to get a nap in. See, she could still put a bottle in his mouth, burp him, and watch the baby knock out, especially when they put that cereal in there. But once them jokers learn how to crawl, nap time is over. Jochebed learned that when the baby was quiet, he was getting into something. It's at this point that Jochebed, the mother of Moses, realized that hiding the baby is no longer an option. To continue to hide the toddler would put her entire family at risk. So instead of just this baby Moses being taken away, if the guards found out that she was hiding this baby boy, the whole family would die. She knows, this mother knows that she has come to the end of what she can do to protect her son. She now must do what brings any mother pain into her heart. She must let go of her son. If her son has any chances of survival, Jochebed has to let go. Some of us here this morning, we can sympathize with this mother because, honestly speaking, there's some things that we need to let go of.
Amen.
For some of us, it might be habits.
Yeah.
For some, it might be a grown child who refuses to let go of mama's financial umbilical cord. For others, it might be letting go of past friends. For some of us, we might need to let go of grudges. For some, it might be an attitude. Some might have to let go of a relationship that has caused you to take more losses than you're willing to take. Jochebed has to let go of what brought success yesterday in order to walk in what God has for her today. She has to let go. Why? Because you cannot keep looking backwards and continue to move forward without missing the mark. Can I tell you a story in closing to illustrate what I just said? You cannot keep looking backwards and continue to move forward without missing the mark. There were these two scientists, and they were in search for this talking monkey. They went to Florida to go look for a talking monkey. So they caged this monkey up, and they had been there like a week, and they ran out of food. They were down to the last portions, and the monkey hasn't talked. So they're thinking, we're just gonna, call it that this monkey ain't talking. We just have to go back to New York. So let's just eat our bananas and call it a day. We'll build a plane in the morning and go. So as they're peeling the banana, the monkey says, do you mind if I get a piece? And so the one scientist looked at the other scientist, and he says, did you say that? He said, no, I didn't say it. I thought you said it. The monkey said, no, I said it. Can I get a piece of the banana? They said, oh my, he talks. We found him. Get him on the plane right now. So they put the monkey on the plane. The plane is up in the air. About an hour into its destination, it collides with another plane and it blows up. Everybody on the plane died. There were no survivors. There was no black box. The only person that survived was the monkey. So the detectives, without a black box, they said, man, what are we gonna do? I mean, we don't know what happened. I mean, we checked the log. It said that this was a talking monkey. I guess we can ask the monkey. I mean, nothing from nothing, at least nothing. So they asked the monkey, they say, were they drinking? The monkey said. So they wrote it down. Then they said, well, were they fighting? The monkey said. So they wrote that down. So then they go, were they partying like they were in a club? The monkey said. So then the detectives put their pen down. They said, well, if all this was going on, they were partying, they were drinking, and they were acting like they were in a club, what were you doing? The monkey said, I was driving and looking. Meaning, you can't keep looking backwards, reliving what has taken place, and continue to make progress going forward. 3 things that Jochebed teaches us as a mother. You gotta have your mind made up. Have to have your mind made up. We're going into our last week of our fast. And I have to say it truthfully. I mean, I'm trying to tiptoe around it, but I hear so many excuses on why we can't fast. And I'm concerned for you. You know why? Let me tell you why I'm concerned for you. Because if you happen to be here, in the book of Revelations, where it says you can't buy or sell without the mark.
That's right.
You can't go without food. I know what you're thinking. Well, I'll just get the mark and God knows my heart. Don't work like that.
Amen.
Can you not tarry with us these few days?
Amen.
Can you not tarry with us a few days? Hard times are coming, church.
Amen.
Amen.
Here.
Some of us, we say, well, I'm not going to fast food. Can you fast the TV? Can you fast the phone? What are you willing to voluntarily give up for God?
Amen. Amen.
It's got to be something. I mean, it's got to be something. We all, and you know what? I had a hard time, I think, the second day. The second day was like 12:30 at night. And I got some, I think it was some, no, the little, what do they call those things? Those little wormies. I took about 4 or 5 of those and just ate them. And then I felt so guilty right after it was over. And you know what? I went to God and I said, God, I'm sorry. Please forgive me and help me to be more committed. And you dust yourself back off and you get back up again.
Amen.
You get back up again.
Yes.
Church, we get back up
Yes.
again. So 1, we have our mind made up. 2, I was preaching to myself when I was talking about having your mind made up. 2 is sometimes we have to be willing to risk it all and not play it safe. The 3rd thing that this mother shows us is sometimes we have to let go of the past and yesterday in order to be focused on what God is opening up for us today. Remember this, you cannot keep looking backwards and continue to move forward without missing the mark.